Charlie and the Chocolate Factory was an iconic movie for most Gen Zers like me. They would play it in school and Willy Wonka freaked me out a bit, but overall it was a great movie for a kid, but after recently rewatching it, I realized why. The deeper meaning remains hidden from children while becoming obvious to adults. From squeezing dry, poor communities to creating a new slave trade, let's explore the world of a crazy rich chocolate man. To begin, we will just be diving into the 2005 movie for now. I'll get to the rest of the releases later. Before rewatching this movie, it had been over a decade and a lot of the small details were lost on me. To begin, we get a little backstory on the chocolate factory. It was an amazing business a few years back, employing thousands. After some espionage in the company, it was closed down, only to reopen years later with no workers in sight. That's about all we get about the factory for now. Later in the movie, it pushes a strong image of Charlie's house in contrast with Willy Wonka's mega factory. I'm thinking that there's going to be a deeper meaning of this mega rich and the disparity with the working poor. Oh boy, was there a deeper meaning in this story, but I was way off what was actually yet to come. From here, the story follows Charlie Bucket and his family. For all intents and purposes, they are filthy poor and have 7 people under a little shack of a house. Not knowing where they will get their next meal, you gain sympathy for the poor family. At the same time, Charlie finds out about a competition from Willy Wonka himself, the most famous and rich chocolatier ever. He will hide 5 golden tickets inside random chocolate bars and scatter them across the world, kinda like the Dragon Balls after a wish. We see truckloads of chocolate bars being transported across the world. The whole world stopped and world peace was achieved to talk about these tickets. The prize must have been insane. Well, it was a lifetime supply of chocolate and a tour of the factory. No, seriously, that was it. People were going ballistic for diabetes and a tour of a chocolate factory. But the thing you have to remember is that this wasn't just any chocolate factory, it was Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. This man is basically Jesus to the Bucket family. At first I was like, no way the poorest family in town wants to kiss the boots of this uber billionaire. Then I remembered Trump dominated the poorer states. Besides just the Buckets, Wonka was also highly regarded by the rest of the world. At the same time, almost no one even knows how he looks, and everything he does is under a cloud of mystery. Anyways, the story continues with people across the world winning the tickets until only one remains. We know our boy Charlie has to get one, or how could the story be named Charlie in the Chocolate Factory? With time ticking down, Charlie is walking and spots a glistening $10 bills of snow in front of a candy shop. With this, he buys one more Wonka bar. Also, wanted to pause here. He handed the guy $10 for a single chocolate bar and got no change back at all. Wonka was making an absolute killing, and people were figuratively and literally eating it all up. If I'm paying $10 for some chocolate, it better come with a nice skirt and big lips. Of course, he wins the golden ticket here, and he is off to the factory. Being able to choose one person to accompany him, he chooses Wonka's most devout supporter, named Grandpa Joe. It fast forwards to all the ticket winners outside of the factory. I want to mention that all these people are white, and look, it sounds a bit stupid to bring up now, but I promise it will be important later. But just saying, something that was worldwide, it did seem a bit skewed in one direction, or color. I mean, Charlie Bucket could have easily been Charles Buckets. There's already a giant corporation leeching on his community while segregating him and his family to an isolated location in town. I digress though, and the story must go on. After Wonka introduces himself to everybody, they begin to tour the factory. Here they introduce to the short men, or the Oompa Loompas. Wonka explains how he found these people in isolated jungle country eating bugs to survive. Conveniently for him, they loved one thing more than the world: cocoa beans. He offered to pay them in cocoa beans if they came to work with him, and the Oompas obliged. At this point, it was screaming at me that these dudes were just some Mexicans. My people are a little shorter on average, and if we had an all-bug diet, I think we would be a bit shorter too. There's also a good bit of jungle around, and the people were parading as hard workers. It all connected for me when they showed the magic bean. Magic bean for Mexicans? That sounds awfully similar to a phrase people refer to them as. I was convinced after I saw their hairstyles up close though. It had to be some Moko the gorilla. The movie does not get into much more detail on the Oompas, but while watching this movie, it felt like my brothers were suffering. Wonka even says that he experiments on them first to see how things work, and remember, man is literally just paying them in cocoa beans because they don't know better in this strange country. Besides that, there are only 3 other colored people in the whole movie. First, an Indian man and his wife had a chocolate palace built by Willy Wonka. If in this short scene, you get a slight racist undertone. Besides them, the storekeeper who sold Charlie the ticket is a black man, but this man, he's just there to help the plight of the white man. For the rest of the story, we see Wonka torture these random kids while going through his daddy issues. Throughout, we see the Oompas doing all the work and bidding to their master on a whim. Not gonna lie, the kids deserved what was coming, but at the end of the day, they weren't just some stupid kids. The last bit of evil we get to see Wonka commit is at the end when he flies through the Bucket's house, leaving a ginormous hole in the ceiling and almost killing his grandparents. But these people are so obsessed with this random rich guy, they don't even complain or say a single word. Even after telling Charlie to leave his family to come take over the factory, they still don't complain. Disappointed, Wonka leaves, but he leaves with a giant hole intact. The uber billionaire destroyed the poorest family in town's house without even offering an apology. Upon finishing the movie, I was convinced that the movie had cut some stuff off and the other releases did it more justice. So I did some research, and here's what I uncovered. In other releases, Wonka is still highly regarded man, but it is a lot nicer than in the 2005 movie. However, the whole world still puts him on a giant pedestal, although he is a leech that does not add jobs to communities and hoards the wealth to himself. Besides that, the Oompa Loompas are described as white-skinned and blonde-haired in the book, so maybe I was a bit wrong on them being Mexican. Sorry, Willy. Well, that is what I thought until I stumbled across this. The Oompa Loompas were originally black and definitely enslaved. Instead of being from Lupa Land, they were from the deepest parts of Africa, and Wonka would be their savior. In the original book, it is described that he shipped them over in boxes with holes for them to breathe, just like slaves. This man Wonka was stupid rich and he wanted even more, so he resorted to literal slavery. Think about that the next time you sing any of those Loompa Loompa songs. This video was not to be taken too seriously, as I don't think the current day portrayal of these characters is meant to be offensive. But watching the movies as an adult, some of these ideas did come to me and led me down a pretty interesting rabbit hole. I know this video will get some Wonka dick riders, so leave a like to fight them off, and I hope you all enjoyed. Peace out and adios.